What's up, guys? So we are finally getting around to make one of the most requested videos I have ever had on this channel, and I've had a bunch. As you can see, we're using our Binize box. If you're not familiar with what that is, go check it out. I'll link my video down below that introduces it. But you can see we're using it and it's not plugged into the USB port. Let me show you what I did, but before we go any further, make sure you're subscribed because I'm going to show you where we hid the Binize box for right now. But I'm going to be replacing that this week. So right after this video, there's going to be another one coming out showing you guys what I'm replacing it with and what the differences are. So make sure you're subscribed, turn on that bell to get notified, and yeah, I'll show you what that's all about. But let me show you where we hid the box for right now. If you guys like what you see, you can do it yourself. Any questions, put them down below, but let's get into it. Before I show you how I did it, let me show you where I put it. Originally, I had it ran over into the glove box. Same thing, you couldn't see the cord. It was awesome. The only thing I didn't like about over there is I don't always use it. So it was kind of a pain, especially if I was driving, to be reaching over there. I wouldn't do it, to be honest. So if I wanted to unplug it or whatever, or if I had to reset it, I couldn't do it with it over in the glove box. It was just too far of a reach, you know, for safety issues while I was driving. So what I did was I rerouted it and I have it right underneath here. So as you guys know, this tray slides. All I have to do now is pull that back and it's right there. And you can see how neat and clean it is in there. Doesn't get in the way of my safe opening. So super easy. If I want to unplug it, just unplug it. It's secure down there. It doesn't lift. I'll show you. You can just pop the cord out. If you're ready to use it, just plug it back in. It's kind of the perfect spot for me because even when you open the glove box, it's not in the way of anything, as you can see. Okay. So it's just a perfect spot for me. And again, nice and neat, nice and clean. You only see this little bit of cable. I have it, you know, kind of zip tied right there. So it's perfect. All right, now let me show you how we got it done. All right, guys, to do this, there is a little bit of disassembly of this middle section here. I'm going to show it in this video, but I'm going to go over it kind of quick because I have a separate video that literally shows you how to tear this entire dash apart, piece by piece, step by step. So first thing we're going to do, plastic pry tool is going to be your best friend for this job. The tray up in here, up behind your screen, all you do is take your plastic pry tool, get underneath the front lip, pop it up. Reach behind and unplug your cigarette lighter. Set that aside. This skinny little piece that's in between your vent and your dash behind the wheel, just get your plastic pry tool behind there. Pop it off just like that. Now we also have to remove this piece that says Toyota because that's also gonna, basically what we're doing right now is we're getting to the radio so we can get the radio out of the way. Get your plastic pry tool behind the edge. Pop that free. This side panel over here, you're gonna notice a theme. It's held in by just a lot of clips. Pop it. Get that piece out of the way. Now with this already free, the vent is now free as well. So just give that a little pop. Take that off. Be careful, there's a white thing back in here that goes into a hole. If it gets hung up on you, just reach back and kind of guide it through that square hole there. Now we're free to get the radio out of the way. Back underneath here, the reason we had to remove that top tray up here, there's 4 10mm bolts that are holding this in place. I'll put a picture on your screen. It's a little hard to record in that tight space, but it's simple. You can't miss them. There's 2 on this side, 2 on that side. 10mm, go ahead and remove them. Now we can just go ahead and pop the radio out. Be careful, you don't want to scratch up this. It's pretty easy to do. Some people will cover this with tape. I've never had an issue. I've had this dash apart countless, I don't even know how many times. I've never had an issue with scratching up this area down here. If you want to protect it, put a little piece of tape over your, you know, your climate control area. But if you just kind of grab the screen and give it a little pop, you'll see if you just pull straight out, and it is attached over here as well. I don't know, hopefully it's in frame. But you kind of have to, as you're pulling the radio out, just work it around this piece over here that goes around there. As you're pulling the radio out, just kind of work it around that edge there. It's easy, as you saw. It's not hard to do at all. Now, I am going to unplug everything back here just to get it out of the way and safely put it down somewhere. You could try to flip it up out of the way or something. To me, it's just easier to unplug the cords back here. They're color coded, but if you want to, well, not all of them are color coded. Most of them are. Like there's a green plug with the green plug. Like it's, you can't really mess it up, but if you want to take a picture just to reference when you go to put it back together, go nuts. I know where everything goes, so I'm just going to go ahead and unplug all the cables. Now at this point, we can get at our climate control location, which obviously holds our USB connection. Same thing, pry tool, get behind there, or you could actually even just grab your fingers. Again, only held in by clips, and just pop it loose. Undo the couple wiring harnesses from the back, and you have this free. Now, as you can see, my USB is not back there, and you're going to see why in a second. Okay, but you will have your USB obviously still attached here, but you can see there's the USB. If you flip it around, I have nothing there. I'll show you why here in a second. Now we're going to work on the center section here. So we're going to start by this panel and this panel. Simply pop them off. These next two panels on the side, just pull straight up. Now let's get the shift knob out of the way. So you're just going to pull down on the boot. Up in there, I'll take a picture and point to it because it's impossible to get on video, nearly impossible. You're going to see two tiny silver pins. You have to take a small screwdriver, push those pins forward, and that's going to release the shift knob to pop it off. Okay, so again, I'll put a picture on your screen just so you know. I'll take the picture right now so I don't forget, but just so you know what I'm doing, because again, it is almost impossible to get on video. Once you have the pins released, you can go ahead and pull straight up. And don't think you're breaking that, especially the first time you do this, because that shift knob can be hard to get off. The first time you do it, you're going to think you're going to break something. But as long as you have those two pins pushed forward, you're fine. Just pop it straight up. And again, you're going to have to use some force, especially the first time you do it. As you saw, I've done this multiple times, and it's still a little tough to pull up off there. Next up is going to be this piece that comes around here. Now this piece could be a little bit of a pain. If you can get it with just your fingers, go nuts. I find it easiest to get a plastic pry tool, and up here in these corners here is the easiest place for me anyway to start, to kind of pop it forward. And again, this piece could be a little bit of a pain, but once you get it in a good spot and just pop that corner loose, there we go. You can see now it'll be much easier, and you just kind of pull it, pop it to you, work your way around, and pull it off. Now we can do our panel right here. Same thing, just held in by clips with some wiring harnesses behind it, so just be careful when we pop it off. Go ahead and undo the wiring harnesses. Now we can get our center piece up and out of the way. It is attached to the panel with your charger. I'll deal with that later. Just so you know, this will come up separate from that. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and lift this up and out of the way. I'm not going to unplug everything under here because I don't really have to be honest, so I'm just going to set this aside. And then last but not least, we have this panel, again, just held in by clips. Okay, I know I did that kind of quick. Again, if you have any questions or want to see that in much more detail, go back and watch. I'll link my video down below where I cover the entire dash disassembly. So now you can see we easily have access to run wiring from the USB that would be right here, literally anywhere we want to run it. So what I did was, let me pop it out of here and show you. So here's my USB, and that's why there was nothing behind. If you remember, don't mind my head for a second, when we flip this over and there's nothing there behind my USB port earlier in the video that I showed you, this is why. I simply removed the actual port itself, hit it down underneath here, and this is where I plugged in my cable. And again, I originally had my Binize box over in my glove box. So if you want to do it that way, all you have to do, there's a gap right up in here where you can just take the cord, your USB cord, plug it in just like this, and run the cable up through this little corner in there. And if you open up the glove box, you'll see there's a little panel in there that you can run the cord right through. You can't miss it. But again, I just didn't like it over there because it was kind of out of reach, especially if I needed to reset it, whatever. So this is what I ended up doing, and I absolutely love having my Binize box here in the middle, right within reach, super easy to get to and access. So all I did was plug it in. You can see my USB cables down here. Hopefully you could see it right there. I ended up getting too long. If you guys, size wise, I would just grab maybe like a 6-foot cord. I got a 9 or a 10-foot cord, and it's way too long. You don't need that long. So a 6-foot cord would be perfect. But I just have it zip tied down underneath here to some wiring, and then ran up. And all I simply did was I just drilled just a big enough hole to feed this end of the cable through. All it is plastic right here. You can't even, like when I'm in my driver's seat, you can't even see that. I can't remember the bit size. I want to say it was maybe like a 3/8 size, but just big enough to get this end of the cable through. There's nothing back here that you're gonna, obviously once you have everything removed, you can just drill right through there. It's nothing but plastic. Doesn't interfere with anything when you put this all together. When everything is back together, there's a gap right in here so the cable doesn't get pinched. It's perfect. And then I just used one of my little cable securement things to hold the cable right there. Gave myself just enough slack, and I'll show you, as you can see when it's plugged in, doesn't interfere with the safe opening up. So let me show you how, the last thing I'll show you, and then we'll wrap this up. I'll show you how I actually popped this port out of the back of the climate control piece. And again, it's not hard to do. If you want to do this and then run your cable, there's multiple ways to do this, but if you want to do it how I have it, very easy to do. Let me show you how I pop that port out of the back of the climate control piece. All right, so I put my USB port back in here just so we could start fresh, and I'll show you how to remove this to do what I did. So this is what you're going to see when you, on your climate control piece, okay? You flip it around. Obviously, now there it is. We have the USB port back. This is exactly what you'll see from stock. In order to remove the port, all you simply have to do, first off, just unplug it from the back. So take the cable out. So once you have the cable unplugged, if you look in the back here, there's going to be a tab up the top right there, and then another one. You can't see it on camera, but it's back in here. You can't miss it when you're actually looking at it. That's what's holding the port in place, okay? So all you got to do is take whatever plastic pry tool. I'm using a screwdriver. You don't really have to worry about marring this up. Push the top tab down as you push the whole port forward. So you can see it kind of releases. If it doesn't release the whole thing, just go down and then do the bottom port as well. So now, as you can see, we have a hole there, which we don't want, but now we have the entire port in our hand. All you have to do to remove the face plate from the actual port that we're gonna plug in, again, is just tabs, okay? So just work the tabs off, kind of work your way around. I wanna say there's 3 total, but you can see there's one there, one on the top, and then the one on this side. I don't believe there's one on the bottom. There we go. Okay, so it's just the 2 sides and the top. Now what we can do is, so this is the port that we're gonna need to plug into, so set that aside. Take your port, or your cap, bring it back over to your climate control, pop it back in, okay? Now you'll never know, especially if you pick up one of these USB little covers. I'll put a link. I got mine off Amazon. They're super cheap. You pop this in there. Whoops, I just dropped it. But you guys get the picture. You put this cover right here, and you will never know that there's nothing behind there. I just dropped it again, but you get the picture. Put a cap right there. You'll never know there's nothing behind there when the truck is back together, which obviously you'll see when we wrap the video up. Now we can set this aside. And now all we have to do is take the inner portion, plug it back into your cable, take our USB, that runs to our Binize box. Plug it in like you normally would, and then what I do, I had it electrical taped. I've removed it obviously for video, so I'm just gonna take electrical tape, wrap it all around just so nothing comes loose when it's back behind here, and you're good to go. Tuck it behind, run our USB cable up like I showed you to the Binize box, and you're set. Put everything back together, you're ready to rock. If you want to go the glove box route, all you have to do is come up underneath here inside the glove box. See that latch? You could pop that out, and then all I did was notch that, and that's where I had my cable. When you have it apart, you can't miss it. There's a crease where you can run wiring up and over into this area. You can see the hole back in here. So there's a clear path from here shooting over to where the USB would be. Okay, so just notch that panel like that. When you put it back in, you can run your USB into your glove box, have your Binize box sitting in here, plug it in, and you're good to go. All right, guys, there's the answer to the question I've been asked 1,000 times. How do you hide the Binize box and the wiring and still get the benefits from it? So as you can see, nice and neat, nice and clean. That cap is right there. I just wasn't happy with that little bit of a gap. Totally up to you. My OCD couldn't handle it. So right there, pop that little cap in. You'll never know there's nothing behind there. So, and I absolutely love having it right here within arm's reach. You know, super easy to get to if you ever need to. If it, you know, freezes or acts up, just reset it, unplug it, plug it back in, you're good to go. Make sure you guys stay tuned to see what we're going to be replacing the Binize box with. It's something that's relatively brand new, just recently hit the market. That video will be coming out very soon, so stay tuned for that. If you have any questions, let me know. There are multiple ways that you can do this, guys. You don't have to do it this way. Obviously, there's different ways to run the wiring. There's different ways to split it. This is just what works for me. I'm happy with it. I love it. So again, if you have any questions on anything that I've done, or if you're thinking about doing something different and you're not really sure, let me know if I could help you out. Questions, comments, concerns down below. As always, we'll get them addressed. Appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next video.